Hey everyone, my name is Katie Wagner and I'm our training lead for the US and APAC at InterWorks. And today I wanted to spend a few minutes walking you through a challenge that I had in Tableau recently. A great attendee of one of our training sessions had a question for me about the way that his data was currently structured and the way that he wanted it to be structured instead. And we were going to attempt to accomplish this in Tableau Desktop. So in Fernando's setup, we were taking a look at a table that was very similar to what you're seeing at the top of this Excel file, where imagine that you're filling out a form and you've got a multi-select option where you can choose more than one answer. In this case, the different service types that you might be interested in. So each customer selects a number of different service types and the date in which they've selected them. Fernando was ultimately interested in finding out how many of the customers selected education advising? How many of the customers selected transfer info? But the challenge that we faced was that the data was all grouped together. It was concatenated together into an entire string of information. And so we needed to think through logically how we were going to accomplish this task. And one of the first steps that we recognized was that we were going to need to split apart each one of these service types into their own area, and then think about what we want that ultimate data structure to be. If I want each of the service types to be listed as a single dimension that can either separate my data or maybe something that I want to filter on, I need to bring those into a single column. And so the two components that we knew we needed to accomplish for this task were going to be splitting apart each one of the service types into their own column, and then using Tableau's pivoting capability to take those multiple columns and turn them into rows in a single column. We wanted Tableau to have one dimension for service type instead of multiple. We attempted creating this inside of Tableau Desktop. That was the tool that we were working on at the time. And we knew that we could split the service type by clicking on the column and choosing Split. The issue that we ran into was once the columns were split, when we tried to multi-select, so I'm holding down my Shift key, multi-selecting these columns and using their drop-down arrow in the upper right, there was no pivot functionality. Unfortunately, these split columns become part of what we might consider a calculated field. Notice that they have the equal symbol in front of the icon. And in this particular case, using Tableau Desktop, we are unable to pivot fields that have been calculated. But we didn't worry. We knew that we weren't out of options because of Tableau's new tool, Tableau Prep. And I want to show you just how easy it was for us to use Tableau Prep to accomplish our solution. Remember that we're starting with a data set that has 3 columns: customer ID, service type, and created date. And I'm connecting to Excel to pull in our original table of data. This is the main working space inside of Tableau Prep, and the step that I've done already is pulling in that Excel file and dragging over a new input step, bringing our original table of data over into Tableau Prep to pull in those 3 columns. We can see customer ID, service type, and created date out to the right-hand side. To start, we know that we need to split our data. We need to take service type and split it up, separating it on its semicolon. I like to do this inside of what Tableau calls a clean step. So I would suggest using the plus button next to your input step and adding a new clean step. When you add the new clean step, not only can you make changes to this process, you also get to dive deeper into the values of these fields. Notice that we have 4 customers, 4 different creation dates. Something that stands out to me is the fact that one of these customers, or at least one, did not give any answers for service types that they were interested in. But we want to split apart our different service types. By using the ellipsis in the upper right corner of the service type column, I can select the Split Values option. And because there are different delimiters in this field, I'm going to choose a custom split. If we chose automatic, Tableau might get it correct, but it may try to split on our space or on our slash instead of splitting on the semicolon. To alleviate this, I'm going to choose custom split. Let Tableau know that our separator, our delimiter, is a semicolon, and that we want all of the possible outcomes. We're not interested in only the first selection, we want all of our selections. So we can click on all using our semicolon as our separator and select the split option in the bottom right corner. Notice that for some of the customers, there's only one outcome or 2 outcomes. Everything else, any column for that customer that did not have 3 or 4 service items, ends up being blank. And that's going to be important to us as we continue on with our Tableau Prep flow. We have all of our service types split across the screen, which means that we can probably get rid of the original field. I'll no longer need our service type original. I'm going to choose the ellipsis in the upper right of our original service type field and just select Remove Field. That will clean up our data source and give us only the outcomes that we want. Now that the clean step has been performed, we need all of the possible service items to exist in the same column. If they're each a separate column, that's going to make creating our visualization tricky. But if we have all possible service types in the same column, it could give us the result that we're looking for. Clicking on the plus button next to my clean step inside of my flow, we can choose to create a pivot, which takes multiple columns and flips them or pivots them so that I end up with more rows of data, but all of the possible service types will exist in a single column. If customer 4 picked 4 service types, I'm going to see 4 rows of data, all associated with customer number 4, describing each of the service types that that person chose. So we're adding in our pivot step into the flow. And the fields that we want to pivot are all going to be our service type columns. I'm holding down my Shift key on my keyboard to multi-select all of the different split options, and then dragging them over into the pivoted fields area, where Tableau creates the pivot for us. And you can sort of see the result as you're working. You've got your data grid down at the bottom that visualizes what the result is at this moment of what you've accomplished. I don't particularly need the pivot names field. It was just giving me which split, which column. So I can remove that pivot names field by clicking on the ellipsis and choosing Remove Field. But we do get our service type split column with all of the possible options and how many rows are associated with each one of those options. Think back to our original question. We said how many customers selected admissions info or financial aid advising or financial aid info. Tableau Prep, because of its exploratory nature, starts to give us those answers without even visualizing in Tableau Desktop. If I were to click on the Sort button at the top of my service type column, Tableau would sort those service types descending based off of how many customers had selected those options. And what we notice is that, yes, we have a lot of blank values. There were 8 possible choices for customer 1, but our other customers didn't pick 8 options. They only picked a few, which left us with a lot of blank items. We don't need to keep those blank results. We can remove them from our analysis. They were just a byproduct of the split that we had created. So we can right-click on our blank bar and we can select Exclude. If we want to see the final result, if we want to browse these items again, we can click on the plus button next to our pivot step in the flow, add in a final cleaning step, maybe make a change. Maybe instead of calling this field service type split, we just call it service type or selected service type. And then we've got the result that we were interested in seeing. You can see a preview of it down at the bottom of the screen. But remember, ultimately, we wanted this information to be shown in Tableau Desktop. We wanted a count of those customers who had selected each of the possible options. Our final step inside of Tableau Prep would be to add an output step, have Tableau create a file, whether that is a Tableau data extract, a .hyper file, or a CSV. And then we would run the entire flow in the bottom right corner to get our result. So with a little bit of movie magic, I have all of this information inside of Tableau Desktop already. And notice that we can get to our final result, a distinct count of customers on the column shelf for each of the service types that were selected. Looks like financial literacy, financial aid application assistance, and financial aid advising were popular in this subset of customers. I hope that this quick video has inspired you to use Tableau Prep to accomplish things that clean up your data that maybe you can't accomplish in Tableau Desktop, or even just try a new way of exploring your data. Looking forward to keeping you posted on all of the new updates in Tableau Prep, and let us know if you have any questions. Thanks, everyone.